Hey, welcome back. Brian Fitzpatrick here. Thanks for joining me for another video. Have home prices finally reached their peak? Sellers, have you missed the boat in order to take advantage of the historically high prices that homes have been selling for? And buyers, what about you? Is now a good time to buy, or should you consider waiting? We're going to cover this and quite a bit more here in today's video. The first thing that we want to look at is kind of a flashback to 2008. So I have pulled up here a foreclosure map of the density of foreclosures in 2008. And what you can see here is there were a number of foreclosures right along this I-95 corridor, extending all the way up to Boston, a little bit up into New Hampshire as well. A little bit in Tennessee, a lot down in Florida, quite a bit in Ohio and Michigan as well. In Phoenix, out on the West Coast, this is where they got hit really hard. In Las Vegas in particular, Southern California, Phoenix. Not so much up here in the Pacific Northwest, in Washington, Oregon, and virtually nothing, with the exception of a little bit in Denver, in the middle of the country, out in the mountain states. So the reason why I have this map pulled up, because I think it's a good predictor of what the future holds. And we're about to jump into a look of what the distressed properties look like today, like literally today, here in 2021, in May of 2021. So you'll be able to see some similarities. So I just want you to take a good look at this map before we jump over to the next one. You ready? Boom, let's go. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit. You can see right here, again, this I-95 corridor, you've got a lot of distressed properties in New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. This time around, there's not as much here in the Boston market. I am based in Boston, so I know firsthand that there's just not a lot of distressed properties on the marketplace. Chicago is also seeing a big spike in distressed properties. Detroit. But look at down here in Florida, right? You've got problems in Orlando, in Tampa, in Miami. Northern Florida up in Jacksonville, a little bit in Houston, a little bit in Dallas. Denver this time around, not seeing much because I think a lot of people are moving into Denver. Phoenix is seeing a little bit, but Southern California, here we go, very red. If you dig in even deeper, you can see just in the city itself, there's just a lot of distressed properties. San Bernardino, Riverside, even in Santa Monica, Burbank, Anaheim, Long Beach, everywhere in Southern California. Also, look up in Las Vegas. Lots of trouble brewing in Las Vegas. And a lot of these distressed properties right now are in forbearance. So even though they're delinquent, they're actually still counted in this metric. So that's, these are falsely being not released into the marketplace, and that's part of the problem of why we're seeing this inventory crunch, is that a lot of people are staying in these homes because they can, right? They're not forced to move out because, again, there's forbearance on a lot of these mortgages. But eventually, the forbearance is going to end, and these properties are going to come onto the marketplace. Sacramento, you see a little bit. If you go up here to the Pacific Northwest, a little bit in Portland, and a little bit in Seattle, but those markets are absolutely rocking and rolling. So the reason why I brought these maps up is that you can see kind of an overlay of 2018 with 2021 put on top of it, and you can see that there's a lot of similarities between the two. So in 2008, 2009, that's when the property values really started to collapse, and in certain markets like the ones right now that we're seeing with the distressed properties, those dropped anywhere from 10 to as much as, I think in Las Vegas it was close to like 40%. So huge drops in some markets, not as big a drop in other markets, especially out in like the I-95 corridor. Those typically are not going to drop as much as things out west. But significant backlog of homes that, again, are not coming onto the market that I think in the very near term, within the next 6 to 12 months, will certainly be coming on the market as these forbearances end. The eviction moratorium is over. I know they're in the process of doing something with the District Court of Appeals to perhaps put a stay order on the eviction moratorium, but we'll see how that shakes out. But anyways, the general trend that we're seeing is the market is starting to open back up, and as the market starts to open back up, more of these homes that are quote-unquote distressed properties that are in forbearance, that are pre-foreclosure, a lot of those homes are actually going to be coming onto the market. And at the same time that the homes are going to be coming onto the market, you've got the other side of the equation, which we're going to talk about next. And that is that the number of buyers in the marketplace is starting to shrink, right? What I'm seeing right now in the marketplace is that there's actually a lot of people that are still looking for a home, but there are fewer qualified buyers for purchases. So I think there's a lot of people who want to buy a home, but just are not getting qualified. They're not getting the pre-approvals. They don't have the ability to actually purchase a home. So that's a lot different than 2008, 2009, when, actually prior to that, when basically if you had a heartbeat, you could qualify for a mortgage. Now the lending standards are very tight, and it's challenging for a lot of folks to qualify. So even if you have a decent number of mortgage applications, that's not really a good indication of how many people are actually in the market to purchase a home. You really have to look at how many people of those applications, how many of those people actually got approved. So that's a much better measure. But be that as it may, let's take a look at this article here real quick. This is from the Mortgage Bankers Association, and in this, this is from April, but what you can see here is that the market composite index, a measure of mortgage loan application volume, decreased 2.5% on a seasonally adjusted basis from 1 week earlier. On an adjusted basis, the index decreased 2% compared with the previous week. So what this means essentially is that the mortgage applications are down. Part of that is the rising interest rates, but the other part of it is I think a lot of the demand for these homes has been satiated, right? So a lot of people went out and they purchased a second home. They kind of fled the cities. They went up to some of the more rural communities within the different states. I know, again, I'm here in Boston. I know a lot of people who purchased homes up in Hampshire and Maine and Vermont, even in western Massachusetts, out in the Berkshires. It was just a free-for-all. So a lot of these communities saw property values just go sky high, at least compared to where they were. Now they're still relatively affordable compared to some of the cities, but it's a big difference between a year ago versus today. But again, a lot of those buyers, they're done, and a lot of the investors, they're kind of tapping out as well because the interest rates are starting to go up. So what can you do about it? Well, I guess it depends on your perspective. If you're a buyer, I would encourage you to continue looking, but be smart about it, right? You don't need to, put in this crazy offer where you're waiving all of these contingencies, no home inspection, no mortgage contingency. There's a better way to do it. And I think time is on your side at this point because we've really hit that crest and things are starting to normalize back down. So again, continue to look, but be patient, find the right house. Don't just grab the first one that becomes available. Really make sure that it meets all of your needs, so that it works for you and your family. For sellers, I think you have missed the feeding frenzy. That's not to say that it is not still a seller's market, but if it's somewhere on this pendulum here, if it's over here and it's a super hot seller's market and this is a buyer's market, it's probably starting to move back towards the buyer's market. That's not to say, again, that you're not going to have tremendous success if you list your home for sale right now, but instead of having 15 offers, most well over asking, you might have 5. In fact, I'm already seeing this, right, with a lot of listings here. And again, I'm in the Boston market, so I have a very probably narrow view of this, but I'm seeing that homes are coming on the market, and ones that perhaps would have sold over the weekend with 15, 20 offers are still selling very quickly. They're still selling within a week, 10 days, but it's with far fewer offers, somewhere in the 5 to 10 range. And if it's a home that needs quite a bit of work, that home is potentially sitting on the market. Depends on how it's priced, of course, but if it needs a lot of work, people are really keyed into the fact that lumber prices and material costs are through the roof right now. They're up over 200% compared to a year ago. So they know if they buy a house that needs a lot of work, they're going to have to invest a big chunk of change just to bring that up to the standard that they are happy with in the home that they're living. So just keep that in mind. Well, that's all I had today. If you found this video helpful, please smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Again, I'm Brian Fitzpatrick. Thanks for watching.